Get a shot, win $1 million. Not a high roller? How's $10,000 sound? Or if you're a teenager, how about a free scholarship? And all you have to do is get your shot to hit that jackpot. Also, you've heard of immigration sanctuaries and Second Amendment sanctuaries. Well, Yamhill County's come up with a new one, a vaccine passport sanctuary.
I would rather go to the mat any day for standing up for those basic freedoms that we're now seeing destroyed at every turn.
And Portland's about to start clearing a lot more homeless camps, especially if they're blocking a sidewalk like this.
Only thing I have is the sidewalks, but I can't do this when these people camped out on the sidewalk.
Here's the story.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is The Story. I'm Dan Haggerty. Tonight's Sweepstakes edition. Oregon's vaccine lottery got us thinking, got us excited. We thought maybe we should have a little sweepstakes of our own. So I walked around the newsroom and I found a bunch of cool stuff to give away. First, let me give you the rules. You have between now and the end of the very first commercial break to send us an email to thestory@kgw.com with the word lottery in the subject line. No purchase necessary. Many will enter. One will win. You must be 21 years old to play or older. You don't have to be exactly 21. That'd be a weird sweepstakes. But sorry, kids, you got to be 21 or older. At the end of the show, we're going to pick a winner out of a hat or a bucket or something. We'll figure something out. But that's how we're going to decide this thing. And that person will win. You know what, Dan? Give them a look at the prizes.
Is today the day luck's with you?
Dan, thank you. One lucky player will take home this super sweet KGW swag bag equipped with these The Story with Dan Haggerty stickers, a mug, some hats, an ice scraper. Yes, I know it's summer. Some candy bars that are from like a year ago. Honestly, these are probably purely decorative at this point. KGW chapstick, which does seem like an odd marketing choice. A pop socket, a used dry erase marker that helped us draw the exploding whale, one of the lights that recently burned out on the set, driving viewers crazy, and one of Dan's reporter notepads with contents unknown. This can all be yours if the price is... Wait, that's definitely a different show.
The mystery of the notepad. What's in it? There's only one way to find out, and that's to win. Send us an email with the word lottery in the subject line. We're going to pick a winner at the end of the show. All the details and rules are on our website if you want to take a look. But what a prize pack. I mean, honestly, I'm told that the combined value of all this stuff is about $50. No, you can't have the money instead. Plus, how can you put a price tag on stuff like this thing that goes, I don't know, I think it goes on the back of your phone? Put like a card in it or something. I don't really know what it does, but that's not important. It's still priceless. Though $1 million is not priceless. It's exactly $1 million. So here are the details on Oregon's vaccine lottery. So you're automatically entered when you get your first dose of the vaccine. Everybody who has already gotten their shot, you are already entered. Anyone who gets their shot between now and June 27th will also be included. Then on June 28th, they're going to pick the winner, the person who gets $1 million. There's also going to be drawings in each of Oregon's 36 counties, and those winners are going to get $10,000 apiece. Kids aged 12 to 17 who get vaccinated, they can win one of 5 $100,000 Oregon College Savings Plan scholarships, which that sounds pretty nice. Now, I know a lot of you have a lot of questions about this, so did I. So I took them to Pat Doris.
So, Pat, let's start with the basics and the specifics here. How will this vaccine lottery work exactly?
Well, if you've already gotten a shot, the OHA knows about you, and every shot record will have a number attached to it. And when the drawing comes on the 28th, all those numbers are going to be fed to a machine at the lottery, and they will generate random numbers and spit out the winners.
So at this point, do we know if this type of technique works? Because the idea is to get us from the roughly 60% of the eligible people who are vaccinated now to that 70% statewide number and help us open everything back up. So is it going to work? What do we think?
The people smarter than me think that it will indeed. It's already being used in several other states. So New York, Maryland, Ohio. Ohio's had great success. They've reported like a 28% uptick in vaccinations in the days after they announced their lottery. So There's definitely that piece of evidence. And then there's the researcher from Stanford who helped Oregon set this up is a specialist in game theory, and gamification is much more ubiquitous than you might think. It's when you go into one of those apps and log the food that you eat, or you log your workouts and you're able to compare against other people. Those are all motivating tools. And so those same people have designed this lottery system for vaccines because they say the money and the chance to win is going to motivate people. Not the people that definitely don't want the vaccine, but the people that say, yeah, I'm going to get to it. I just haven't gotten to it yet. This will speed them up.
I will say, I don't think you need a Stanford degree to figure that out, though, but I'm glad they did. I'm glad they got it figured out. I got a viewer question for you because I mentioned that magic number, that 70% that we want to reach to before we open up. And I got this viewer question from Rick. With regards to vaccinations, what is the, quote, science behind that magical 70% goal?
Well, I got to say, I really don't think there is any science. And there's sort of sleight of hand, although they have publicly said there's not sleight of hand, so maybe that negates it. But 70 to 80% is what they used to talk about for herd immunity in the country, in the world, in the state of Oregon. But it's a very difficult number to reach because it means the entire population, not just those who are eligible. So probably that's not going to happen. And then President Biden started saying, look, we need 70% of eligible people in America to get this vaccine. So I think that's when the OHA and the governor said, okay, that's a specific target that we can go after. And so that's what they're focused on now. And it's getting close. I mean, by my calculations, it's 19 days or less away at the pace that we're at. OHA says that pace may dip a little bit, but on the other hand, the lottery thing may bring it up a little bit more. So I'm feeling, I'm excited. I think the first couple of weeks of June, we might have this thing done.
If Pat's optimistic, I'm optimistic. I like it. All right, man.
It's a Friday,
Yeah, appreciate the report.
You bet.
Now, on that note, why don't we count some vaccines, okay? We like to do that every night. More than 2.13 million Oregonians have gotten at least their first dose of a vaccine, and that works out to be about 61% of the state's population who is 16 and older, so the eligible group with at least one shot. In Washington, more than 3.67 million people have gotten at least their first dose, and that works out to be about 60% of Washington's population in that eligible age group, 16 and older. Again, both states trying to hit that magic number of 70% of the population, of the eligible population, in order to fully reopen. Now, last night, we told you about a pretty controversial vote in Yamhill County. Commissioners there, they think teenagers should need parental permission to get a COVID vaccine, which is not actually state law. In Oregon, kids 15 and older can get vaccinated without their parents' permission. Well, now they're taking it a step further in Yamhill. The chair of the Board of Commissioners, Mary Sterrett, wants to make Yamhill County a vaccine passport sanctuary, meaning businesses wouldn't actually be able to ask customers or employees for proof of vaccination to let them inside without a mask. Now, remember, that's what the state said has to happen if businesses want to let people go mask-free inside. Here's what Sterrett said at the Board of Commissioners meeting recently.
There should be no place in a free society for requiring private medical information as a condition of just operating in a free society.
Now, I know a lot of people agree with that reasoning, and some people don't. I do want to say this just for the sake of clarity and getting the details right. The way the state's rules are set up around this, businesses aren't requiring you to prove you're vaccinated just to get inside. You can still go inside places without showing your vaccine card. You just have to wear a mask, like we've been doing for more than a year now. Now, Sterrett is getting a bit of pushback from her fellow commissioners on her perspective, people who are pointing out this pesky little issue about state law.
If we adopt ordinances that are in conflict with state law, we run the risk of, in the event of a claim, not having insurance coverage.
Yeah, it's going to be, it's a risk, but somebody's got to say at some point, enough is enough. I would rather go to the mat any day for standing up for those basic freedoms that we're now seeing destroyed at every turn.
Now, Yamhill County isn't a stranger to passing controversial sanctuary ordinances. You probably remember back in March, they became a so-called Second Amendment sanctuary, which basically means they say they get to decide which state or federal gun laws they want to enforce. Now, I want to talk about homelessness for just a second because, well, it is always top of mind. But here's the deal. Starting on Monday, Portland is going to ramp up clearing out homeless camps. The city wants to do this more aggressively, and they want to do it more often. Crews will sweep camps like they did pre-pandemic, even if the whole city council isn't on board with the idea. Here's Maggie VESPA.
And it's ridiculous. I wish the city hurry up and do something about it.
Being in a wheelchair makes a lot of things harder for Warren White. Being in a wheelchair in Portland makes this trip to the grocery store dangerous. We watched as he veered into the street to get around the homeless camp, blocking this sidewalk along Northwest 19th.
Only thing I have is the sidewalks, but I can't do this when these people camped out on the sidewalk. And if you say something to most of them, they get upset and want to fight.
Unfortunately, White is used to it. In the last year, camps have seemingly multiplied and gotten way bigger. One reason, the city largely stopped clearing them when COVID hit. The CEO of the Portland Clinic says downtown is out of control.
Some of the bodily waste is evident. It's discouraging patients from seeking health care.
Complaints like that have been pouring into City Hall for months. Cut to this week, an answer from the Portland City Council. Come Monday, crews contracted by the city will start posting and clearing more camps like you see them doing in this video from 2019.
I certainly support the council's action to do something.
In a news release, staff said they'll ID which camps to clear based on an updated list of criteria. And beginning Monday, they'll prioritize clearing camps with, among other things, 8 structures or more, camps where untreated sewage is prevalent, those that are deemed an extreme fire risk by Portland Fire and Rescue, those with verified reports of violence, arrest, or criminal activity, and finally, camps that block access to sidewalks and paths, violating standards set by the Americans with Disabilities Act. That last point thrills Warren White.
I hope they could do it even before Monday. But yes, I will be glad because this is totally ridiculous.
The shift in strategy scares people living on Portland streets.
Does that mean move to a different spot? Does that mean they're going to help us?
And I can understand why a lot of normal people are PO'd and would rather just shove us all off out of sight and somewhere, and nope, never saw them.
Per that news release, pre-COVID, the city was clearing roughly 50 camps per week. For the past year, crews have been clearing an average of 5. It's not clear exactly how many sweeps the city plans to conduct moving forward, but staff said if these sweeps don't pick up soon, getting the trash and camps back to pre-COVID conditions could take 2 years or more.
Maggie VESPA joining us now in North Portland, the St. John's neighborhood specifically. Maggie, we've been getting written statements on this, but no one from the city was willing to go on camera and talk about what's going to happen on Monday. So you went and tracked them down yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, we heard that both the mayor and the housing commissioner were going to be here in St. John's, just down the street here at the opening of a tiny house village, which is housing for the homeless. That's awesome, and KGW will absolutely cover that too. But while we were here, we said, we have to ask you about this pivot in policy. This is huge. We have a lot of advocates writing in basically saying that they're worried this is going to be too strong in their minds and that there will be too many sweeps. It'll be too forceful. And then we have a lot of Portlanders writing in saying, absolutely, do this now. Do it bigger. Do it yesterday. Our city looks terrible. So here is what Mayor Ted Wheeler and Housing Commissioner Dan Ryan had to say about what is actually going to change on Monday and why this is happening.
It means that we're going to help clean up the public health crisis that we're in, which has become the sanitation challenges. So it's really about working with our houseless neighbors so that we can have those services once again. And that's something that was dropped during COVID because of CDC guidelines. So really it's just about getting back to some great sanitation services that all Portlanders are asking for.
And sometimes it's really just about educating the people in a particular area, and they can self-police and they can remediate on their own. But there's just some areas that are just too environmentally sensitive, or situations where there really is a public health threat to both those in the camps and those surrounding, or a public safety issue that requires urgent remediation. And so I stand behind the protocols. I think they're good protocols.
Now, I should note, neither the housing commissioner nor the mayor really wanted to put a number on how many more camps will be cleared under this new policy come Monday. So at this point, that's still unknown. And by the way, we've also asked if we can follow crews as this kind of gets rolled out, or at least get a list of camps the city plans to clear and then kind of follow it that way. At this point, no dice, but of course we'll keep asking. And Dan, come Monday, I mean, we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. We'll wait. Thanks, Maggie. Appreciate it. It's not even June, and already it's fire season in some parts of Oregon. And you might have to get used to the power being shut off to try and prevent what happened last year. And the last time the Blazers faced the Denver Nuggets in the playoffs, we got a little superstitious, you could say, when the story continues. Welcome back. Deadline. That's it. Hit the buzzer. We don't have a buzzer. Well, hopefully you got your email in before the end of the first commercial break for our little sweepstakes. Oregon's new lottery, vaccine lottery thing. They inspired us to give away some KGW swag to one of our lucky and loyal story viewers. We're going to pull that name, the winning name, out of a hat at the end of the show. We got, they said, like well over 1,000 within that first bit. So the odds are pretty good. 1 out of 1,000. I'll take those for some swag. Why not? Hey, I also want to remind you, everyone at home, get involved with our Hey Help campaign to give back to this great community we live in. All this week, we're asking you to consider donating to a great organization, Solve. They do cleanup efforts across the city and state of Oregon. And we want you to help support the great work that they do for the environment here. Just open the camera on your phone and point it at the QR code that's on the screen right now, and it'll take you to a donation link. And we're calling this a micro donation drive. So that means you don't have to give some big amount. Give whatever you'd like. You can give a small amount. It doesn't matter. Anything can help these organizations do the great stuff that they do. Each week, we're going to highlight a different cause. So if you know an organization, a nonprofit out there that needs some attention, like so many of you have so far, and trust me, we are considering each and every one of them, let us know with the hashtag HeyDan or email the story at kgw.com. Now, a lot of you have been asking us about the upcoming fire season, which I understand because of what we just went through. Nobody wants to see another repeat of what happened last year. We're actually planning to dedicate on this show an entire week of coverage to wildfires sometime soon. So if you have any questions about that topic, use the hashtag HeyDan and we'll get working on them for you. By the way, fire season is already starting in some of southern Oregon counties where it's been extremely dry. So the state's already starting to prepare for the worst. The Public Utility Commission, they just approved some new rules for temporary power shutoffs to prevent wildfires. PGE actually did this for the first time ever last summer. They cut the power to an area by Mount Hood in response to the extreme fire danger and the high winds that were forecasted for Labor Day. And it did seem to work because no fires broke out in that area. Of course, that wasn't the case in parts across the state. An incident report says that downed power lines sparked at least 13 fires in the Santiam Canyon, which eventually, as we know, merged with the devastating Beachy Creek fire. Fire victims sued Pacific Power, claiming the power company kept their power lines energized despite being warned about extreme fire weather. Those lawsuits are still working their way through the court system now. In Lane County, fire victims are also suing two utilities companies over last summer's Holiday Farm fire. That broke out east of Eugene. They claim tree branches sparked when they touched power lines, and that grew into a massive fire. That's still under investigation right now. But obviously lawsuits like these, and why they were even filed in the first place, these fires, those are something that utility companies want to avoid in the future, of course. These planned power shutoffs have become more and more frequent in California as their fire seasons have gotten worse. So in anticipation of another potentially bad season for us here in Oregon, the state sets some regulations around power shutoffs. Utility companies will still have the final say on whether they will cut the power, but they got to follow some rules to make sure, of course, that they notify the public, especially vulnerable people that could be impacted greatly by a power outage. And they have to report any fire that sparks from their equipment to the state. Now, I don't need to tell you, it's been a weird year, right? Pretty much this whole show has been on the air during this bizarro world that we have been living in for the past year and then some. But if you look around, it does seem like we are slowly getting back to, what would you call it?
Returning to a sense of normalcy. A sense of normalcy.
Ah, yes, normalcy. I'm pretty sure it's normalcy, but you know what? I don't even care. Thank you to Governor Brown for giving us a little bit of fun with this new segment we have. So our latest returning to a sense of normalcy is races. Our races are coming back. All of Portland's annual runs are pretty much, gone from last year. They were canceled like everything else. But now look at this. Our first big race downtown yesterday, the Rose City 5K. It wasn't completely back to normal, but that's fine. Runners, they had to wear masks. They started in 10-person intervals about 2 minutes apart, but there they are. They're out there. Another big race that's back this year. Hood to Coast. That's everybody knows that one. It's happening August 27th to the 28th. So get your relay teams together. All right, get in shape. Start running again. They're also going to have some social distancing rules with the runners taking off in different waves, but it's still going to be fun. And if you're a cyclist, really good news, Bridge Pedal is back this year as well. It's happening August 8th, and it'll be the event's 25th anniversary. So it's a big one, and we're glad that they can celebrate it. Organizers, they're waiting to see what they need to do to modify the guidelines based on how things go with COVID and the state guidelines as we move further into summer. Now, if you're out and about and you see something that gives you a sense of normalcy, or normalcy or whatever in these weird times, let me know with the hashtag HeyDan. Another little sign of normalcy is fans back at Blazers game. Just in time for the playoffs, too. Their first game is tomorrow night against the Denver Nuggets in Denver, and it got us in the newsroom thinking about the last time that these two teams faced off in the playoffs, which was way back in 2019, which feels like a lifetime ago at this point. Anyway, during that series, Voodoo Donuts gave us this massive Denver Nuggets Voodoo Donut that just sat in our newsroom untouched for like 2 weeks throughout that series. Everyone was afraid to eat it, and it was like a superstition. Everybody was afraid that if we ate this thing, the Blazers were going to go down in flames. Well, it worked out pretty well until Game 7 when Portland was down by 17 early in the game. So at halftime, one of our photographers decided something needed to change. He took a knife and he cut the donut's head off. Yes, it worked. Okay, I know it's a lot. But it worked because the Blazers, they came back, they won the game, they advanced to the Western Conference Finals. They did then lose in 4 games to the Warriors, but nobody needs to talk about that. So, Blazers fans, Let's go. Playoffs start. Let's have some fun. A return to normalcy. Here we go. Things are getting better. If you have any superstitions, I'd like to hear them. Use the hashtag #HeyDan. All right, we're going to announce the winner of our little sweepstakes right after the break. I'm going to draw a name out of a hat. If they can all fit in a hat, we're going to need a big hat. We're going to finish the story next. Drum roll, please. So many people emailed in for our swag bag here that we had half the newsroom scrambling to write down names. As we came back, my producer said, "This is never happening again." I beg to differ. I thought this was a lot of fun. Thank you, everybody at home, for getting involved. Here we go. Let's go. I'm gonna dig down deep into this thing. Who is gonna win? Who's gonna win this puppy? Huh? Laurel Porter, did Laurel send in an email? All right, here we go. This is it. This is our winner. Teresa Kreitzer. Teresa Kreitzer, you have won the swag bag. How about that? Teresa, thank you for being a story viewer along with all these other people. Thank you so much, everybody, for having some fun. This was just a good time. Teresa, we're going to respond to your email and congratulate you, and then you can send us your address, and we'll get all this stuff in the mail for you. Again, I wouldn't eat this chocolate. I mean, this stuff is like pre-pandemic. All right, it's decorative only. Please. That's the story for tonight. I appreciate you being with me. Look, if you didn't win this, don't worry. You still got a shot at $1 million. Go get that vaccine.